When it comes to, ICE talking, you don't need to answer. If they ask you what your immigration status is, you do not need to answer that question.
Right now on KGW, the message from one local school district in response to President Trump's executive orders on immigration, plus the local efforts in Oregon and Washington to help support migrants and their families. And later, Boeing reports its annual largest loss since the pandemic, how a troublesome year is affecting the company's recovery. And opening statements begin in the trial of a semi-truck driver accused of a deadly 2023 crash near Salem. We take you to the courthouse live as your News at Noon starts right now. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. I'm China Green. Breaking news in Southeast Portland right now, where police are asking some people to stay inside their homes as they try to get a wanted person into custody. This is a live look near Southeast Powell Boulevard and 90th Place in the Powellhurst-Gilbert neighborhood. Police tell us that they were executing a search warrant this morning and took several people into custody, but they believe there is one person who has barricaded themselves inside a home. Several streets in the area are blocked off right now. We'll update you and update the story as we get more information. President Trump is ramping up his mass deportation plan. NBC's Gabe Gutierrez is in New York with the latest on that.
Newly confirmed Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem is here in New York City today, and we've already seen multiple arrests throughout the city. This is all part of the Trump administration sending a message and keeping a campaign promise. Now, according to a senior administration official, ICE has arrested about 1,200 people in just one day, but only about half of those are undocumented immigrants with prior criminal records, besides being in this country illegally. Now, we have spoken with ICE agents who tell us to expect so-called collateral arrests. In other words, when they go after a target, there may be people in and around the area who are undocumented, and they are arrested as well. Now, according to people familiar with the planning, we understand that this is one of several operations this week. We saw Chicago, New York, and then on Thursday, we expect one in Aurora, Colorado. And ICE field offices across the country are being told that the goal is to get between 1,200 and 1,500 arrests a day. Back to you.
We are also hearing from some local school districts on how they are preparing for local impacts from federal immigration policies. In December, the Reynolds School District passed a resolution to protect students regardless of their immigration status. The resolution also urges staff to get familiar with district procedures should an immigration official come onto school property.
Oregon being a sanctuary state, if ICE were to come to our school, we would not allow them in. We would not allow them to interview students. We would not allow them to interview staff. We would, have them stay there. We would contact our attorneys, and they would take it from there.
He says the one exception to that rule is if a federal official brings a warrant signed by a judge. Meanwhile, an Oregon group is focusing on efforts on making sure immigrants in our state don't go hungry. This is a video of the Food for All Coalition. Community members and lawmakers at the Oregon State Capitol yesterday advocating for Senate Bill 611. The bill would essentially extend food assistance programs to immigrants who are currently excluded from federal programs like SNAP, which have never been available to undocumented immigrants. If passed, the bill would establish the program to start January 1st, 2027. And in Washington, Governor Bob Ferguson signed an executive order that he says aims to support children of undocumented immigrants who are detained or deported. The governor created a rapid response team involving the state attorney general's office and state patrol in order to coordinate getting help to families who become separated. Among other things, the executive order specifically aims to help schools develop strategies to make sure education isn't disrupted. The trial of a man accused of killing 7 people while driving on meth began this morning in Salem. It happened in May 2023 when a semi-truck driver ran off I-5 and hit a passenger van. Thomas Schultz joins us from the Marion County Courthouse. Thomas, what was it like in that courtroom today?
Yeah, well, China, it was emotional. There were dozens of family members of those victims there, and there were a lot of tears and muffled sobs as many for the first time heard a recount of what happened that day. Now, on May 18th, 2023, 54-year-old Lincoln Smith was driving a semi-truck along I-5 when prosecutors say he drove off-road full speed into a van carrying 11 people. That van then ran into another semi-truck. 7 people died, all were farm workers. In court today, prosecutors look to reach a guilty verdict on 7 counts of manslaughter in opening statements and 3 counts of assault. Prosecutors say Smith was driving his truck while high on meth. After the crash, they say a trooper found drugs in Smith's belongings.
Mr. Smith chose to use methamphetamines the day before he was driving through the state of Oregon on I-5.
Prosecutors say Smith later tested positive for meth, cocaine, and fentanyl in his blood, though defense attorneys argue that while Smith did party and take drugs the day before the crash, he was not impaired at the time of the crash. Instead, they say Smith was tired and fell asleep while trying to pull off I-5.
And we intend to show that the state will not be able to meet their burden, that they will not be able to prove the mental state.
And the defense argues, too, that if Smith is found guilty, it should not be for those counts of manslaughter, but instead for criminally negligent homicide. China.
Our Thomas Schultz reporting live for us from Salem. Thank you, Thomas. All right, we're going to head over to Rod Hill now for a look at weather.
Yeah, another frosty start out there this morning, but another day that's warming up nicely, so that's where we begin. Here's the coast, Lincoln City, Schnuckwins Casino Resort camera. See what temperature's doing. Up to 50. It was mid-50s from Astoria down into North Bend yesterday. And some of the cameras just show a deep blue water. This is also down in Lincoln County. That's the inn at Ottercrest looking up to the north. A little hazy from this view over our state capitol, but after being in the 20s this morning, Salem at 47 right now. That is the biggest morning warm-up we've seen in several days. And PDX not far behind. We're up to 44, so 50 seem to be an absolute give me later today. We'll be 50 or warmer at 4 o'clock and then cooling back down quickly to the low 40s by 8 o'clock. We have one more completely dry day, and then we're talking rain. We're talking lowering snow levels. That means maybe you see a snowflake where you are. That's ahead of my 7-day forecast.
Thank you, Rod. Now at noon, one person is in custody after authorities raided 2 chop shops, including one on Southeast 172nd in Happy Valley. The Multnomah County DA's office says since last summer, they've linked potentially hundreds of stolen cars to this single operation. The DA's office adds that auto thefts are down 62% in Multnomah County since 2022.
Walk backwards towards us. Both hands. Keep coming.
That's body cam video from Vancouver police as they took a suspected bank robber into custody. And while this arrest happened on Friday, the robbery at the Bank of America on Southeast 164th happened before Christmas. Authorities say tips from the public helped them identify the suspect, who's connected to at least 2 other robberies in the Portland area. And camp removals will resume in Portland today following the Tri-County point-in-time count. The point-in-time count gathers information about unsheltered and sheltered homelessness. This year's count is expected to show fewer unsheltered individuals due partly to an increase in available shelter beds. In other developing news, the West Linn Wilsonville School Board voted against a proposal to shut down 3 primary schools in the district because of budget issues. KGW's Alma McCarty has more after attending last night's school board meeting.
This is Bolton, one of the schools in the West Linn Wilsonville district that the board considered closing, consolidating with other neighborhood schools. Now, many parents here and at 2 other small schools made a plea to leaders to keep them open. Inside the West Linn High School auditorium Monday night.
Vice Chair White. Director Vidal. Thank you.
Families celebrated after months of uncertainty.
I came in nervous and I am so excited, just so excited that we were heard and that they want to do the right thing and that these quick decisions of closing schools isn't the right decision.
The district facing a $15 million budget shortfall due to both rising costs and lower enrollment proposed closing Bolton, Stafford, and Cedar Oak Park to cut costs. But many parents like Barbara Stratt and Christy Lawns argued there must be another way organizing others to share their experiences with the board.
All these schools are so special. It's neat to have smaller schools where kids are seen and heard and just thrive in these.
We've put a lot of time and effort into this, and just even having one more year for my son, who's a first grader at his school, is huge.
It's not just the size of the classes. It's not just the school. It's our family to us.
After a few hours of discussion, the board voted unanimously to keep these primary schools open, at least for another year or two. But members acknowledged they'd need to revisit the topic.
I will caution that we are going to be back in this exact same financial situation a year from now.
Meantime, they pushed parents to advocate for more funding from lawmakers on the state level.
Going to Salem and talking to them is probably the next thing on our list.
In West Lynn, Alma McCarty, KGW News.
Tonight, KGW is helping with a Get to Know You session featuring some of Portland's new city councilors. Starting at 6 o'clock on KGW Plus, we're streaming the first in a series of events hosted by the City Club called Get to Know Your City Councilor. Tonight, we'll meet the 3 councilors for District 2, which covers parts of North and Northeast Portland. And again, you can watch that live tonight on KGW Plus and look for future Get to Know You sessions coming up next month.